Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining into this webinar and taking out time from your precious stuff and joining this webinar. As Rudha mentioned, we will be today talking about how ArcGIS can be used, especially for the field maps and for your field operations. So today's focus will be mainly on the field applications, which we are talking about. So what will be agenda is we will like to understand what's new in field maps. We will try to understand what is required so that you can start working with ArcGIS field maps. So what are the basic requirements from the licensing perspective, from the software perspective, we'll be understanding that. We will be then trying to have some deep dive into some of the domains because field applications can be used across multiple domains. But just to give you an overview, we have just tried to, take out some domains and try to talk about those use cases. It doesn't mean that it cannot be implemented into other domains. So don't take it that we are restricted to only these domains. Then we will be moving on to the demonstration. What are the plans for using this app going ahead? And then we can directly jump to the question and answers. So what exactly is ArcGIS Field Maps? That's the first question which will arise. So this is a new launch which has come from 10.9. So it's a premier maps app for your iOS and Android devices. So earlier you would have known that you would, whenever there was field applications which were required to be used, we always used to recommend Collector for ArcGIS. We used to say then you can have a workforce app which should be working for you. Then we also used to say that we have a navigator app which can help you do your routing. And then if you would like to track your field for the people who are there in the field, you would like to track them. There was a tracker app which was there. So what we understood was when we were using those multiple apps and when we were working with customers, what ESRI felt was that whenever a work plan was planned using a workforce app, and whenever other applications were being used related to the field applications, people really need to jump from one application to another, making the workflow a little bit cumbersome. It becomes cumbersome that first open a workforce app, try to define what are your flows, what are your SOPs, how you are going to plan your workforce, what are the steps you are going to do during your field applications, then go to your collector app, start doing your data capture stuff, then go to your tracker app for your people who are there in the field if you would like to track them. Then you, for collecting your data, you might need to go to a collector app. So it was a combination of multiple apps working together, and it used to make things a little bit difficult for the users to work on this. So what ESRI has done in 10.9 is it's tried to collate all these multiple applications into a single application. And that application is called ArcGIS Field Maps. Here in this single application, you can do all this stuff. So you don't need to jump from one app to another. Now, there can be one more question which can arise that if we have clubbed all these apps together, what will happen to the other apps which people were working with earlier? So it's not that we are going away with those apps. Those apps you can still keep on working on those apps. There will be no changes to those apps at all. But yes, for those people who are trying to have a combination of multiple field applications working together, for them, we have tried to define and try to launch this new app for them. So what are the key capabilities? When we talk about field maps, what are the things what you are going to get? So the first thing is when you would like to do a real-time integration. That is, you want to search a location. When you are going in a field, you would like to search a location, search an address, search a feature. You would like to do your navigation within the indoor maps. Sorry. Then when the second thing which is required is you would like to do some sketching, you would like to draw some redlining, you might need to do some markups, or you would like to share some information among peers. So these were some of the things which are usually done when you work on a field application. And when it comes to data collection, then it comes to the point, line, polygon collection. And another important aspect which directly comes into play is the GPS connectivity, in which you can connect your mobile device onto your this field app, you can set the settings, you can set the streaming, and as soon as the person starts moving, the tracking of the person starts getting updated. And you can do all these settings automatically onto your, the administrator can do all these settings in your while setting up the configuration, and he can do all these data collection stuffs, which can be easily done in field maps. And then another important aspect when we would use field maps is the editing aspect. Editing aspect means when you would like to do your feature edits, when we would like to do your, attribute editing. We were always earlier, we used to suggest a collector app to do all these settings. But now, if you are using this field maps, you can directly do all these stuffs, which is the points which I'm talking about: map viewing, real-time integration, setting up, markups, data collection, and editing. So all those things can easily happen on a single app, and the person will just have to configure it once, and he can start using it and implementing your applications. And then another important aspect is tracking of the persons who are trying to use the field application. So if there's a Salesforce, which organization would like to track their Salesforce people, or their people who are trying to do their service, they would like to track them, they can always do this. So what we are actually suggesting in field apps, what are we giving? So it is actually the digital transformation, the mobile workflows which we are giving them. So the data collection, editing, tracking, all these things can directly come into your application. So this is the stuff which the user is going to get. The second thing is, when you are all the people who are going to go on the field using their mobile devices or tablets, they can use these applications. The best thing is that whenever you configure these web maps, because they are web responsive, so whichever tablets you use, whichever mobile devices you use, they are going to rearrange themselves and take up the screen the way the size of the mobile or the tablet is. So you don't need to actually worry about, you just need to configure the application. Once the application is configured, you will easily be able to work with these field applications. So what's the benefit for the people? You're going to get a 24/7 access of all the data which is lying with the organization. So the people who are there in the field, they can get the access of the data. As I'm sure that the people who are already using these apps, they are aware that the user management is also inbuilt into the application. So when the user management is inbuilt, so if there is a person who is having the rights to do the edits, and then there can be a person who is just a visualization user. So as per your requirement, as per your roles and responsibilities, the administrator gives you those roles, and you can work with those data sets whichever are assigned to you. And if you are allowed to do the edits, you can even do that. You can also go to and locate your assets, and when whatever work you have done on the field, you can start sharing that data with your organization. The next thing which is important is delivering up-to-date data. So that is whatever inputs which you have taken from the central repository, whatever data you have collected from the field, it can be pushed back to your central repository. And it's not that you are going to work only in an online mode. There, like any other application, where we had those old capabilities where people would like to work with their online and offline applications. So the same application is still there. This field application also gives you the option where you can actually do this offline editing or online editing. So as soon as the person moves from offline to from online to offline, all the edits keep on getting saved to your repository on your mobile. And once that is saved, you can, as soon as you get back to the connectivity, whenever you have that internet connectivity back, you can just push your data into your central servers. So what you are actually achieving is you are actually achieving the full transparency within the organization. Whatever data you are trying to collect from the field, it is being directly shared with other people within your organization. And the best thing is that it is a real-time update. You can call it as a real-time update if you're online, but generally we call it as a near real-time because if there are some delays because of the network issue, then there can be few seconds delay. But generally what happens is whatever data is getting collected, it is directly pushed to the central servers. You don't need to come back to office, submit your work. You can, you can just do all those things directly from the field and share it back with the organization. Then the tracking analyst, which is always which was a part of our solutions, the tracking is also embedded into it. So what actually we are talking about is we have what we have tried to do is with all these activities which we have talked above, we have tried to create a simplified mobile application deployments. So what happens with this is that all the workflows which you were working with earlier, all those workflows can be clapped together into a single workflow. You can define your SOPs, you can define how the person has to work with, what the users are going to get, and then you can do it in a single ArcGIS field map where you can configure your application and share it with the people. So now let's try to understand that what is the requirement when you talk about the deployment of ArcGIS field maps. So people who are already aware of, who are having the ArcGIS servers with them, they have ArcGIS enterprise implementations. So when I will be going to the demo, I will be showcasing that how you can start working with it. But when you have this ArcGIS enterprise, you can very well use this ArcGIS field apps. It is a part of a PFA that's coded for ArcGIS. And if the people are using, if the organizations who don't have the server installation, but they still have the ArcGIS online available with them, even they can start working with ArcGIS field apps. So the second thing is you can set up the rights. So as per your rights, you need to define what are the administrator, like earlier, would have to define who is the editor, who is a viewer, and based on their roles and responsibilities, they will be given the rights. And then there are, like earlier, the navigator app, the tracker app used to have some additional licenses. So if you are trying to use those capabilities, also using this ArcGIS field map, which is a part of this whole app, you can very well use these add-on licenses and you can start working with it. And so this is a single device which can be running apps which can be running on your Android or iOS. So you can define who is going to be a viewer. You can define who is going to be an editor, whether they are field workers, whether they are creators. So creators, you know that if you're actually going to do a edit, like a special edit or an attribute edit, then you need to have a creator, right? So people who have been using ArcGIS since a while, they very well know, they might be aware that we used to earlier call them as level 2 users. So now those level 2 users have been named as creators so that whenever you want to do an edit on the field, on a browser, on a mobile device, you need to have the creator rights for working with this application. So the next thing, what is required is you need to define what type of roles and responsibilities you are going to work with. And when we talk about the licensing stuff, that there will be lots of questions that when there are so many applications, the applications which were earlier there as separate applications. So what happens to the licensing? So we have tried to simplify that as well. So what we have tried to do is that people who are going to just view the maps, they don't need to have any additional license. It can be, you can directly start working using with your ArcGIS field maps. But if you are going to, you would like to do a tracking, or if you would like to, do a navigation, like you want to move from one location to another and you would like to use the navigation maps, which is also a part of ArcGIS field application. So what can be easily done in this is that for these kind of licenses, like a tracker or a navigator, you will have to have these additional licenses as a separate add-on license. Other than that, the responsibility, the ArcGIS Field Maps is available for the administrators. They will be having the rights to define which user will be having what kind of rights, and the persons. So you can see this green field. So if he's a editor, he will be having the rights to do the markups. He will be able to add points, lines, polygons. So all those things can easily be done. But anonymous user who is just a viewer, he will just be having some restricted rights. He will just be able to have look and view for the public maps. So the green one shows you what all things features which the user will be having as per the user rights. So you can so this is the details from the licensing perspective for the ArcGIS field maps. So now let us try to jump into some of the segments where we can see how we can actually use these field applications and how they are useful for us. So what we have tried to, as communicated earlier in the beginning of the webinar, that please don't take it that these are the only segments where we are going to, use this. It can be used in any segment, the way you want, however you want. It can be used. So these are just few of the industries and few of the use cases which we are going to talk about today. But still you can use it in other industries as well, because field applications are being used across industries, across multiple domains. So some of the domains which I will be touching upon will be the utilities, the public safety, especially the homeland security stuff, some national government organizations, how they are trying to use, if it's a natural resource organization, how they're going to use transportations, commercials, and then education institutes as well can use these field applications. So let's talk about first the mapping and infrastructure, especially from the utility segment. So when we talk about utilities, we very well know that it can be a gas utility, it can be an electric utility, or it can be a water utility. And depending upon the kind of utilities, if you are trying to go to the field and you are trying to do some inspection, then all those inspections can be done using these field maps, because you will be able to do all the red lightings. You will be able to create points, lines, polygons the way you want. You will be able to update. So whatever markups which you are going to add, the symbology will be taken up automatically as per the web map configuration. So that symbology will be a part of the solution, and then you can, whatever work you have done in utilities, you would like to share that in a dashboard. You can very well do it. You can take all the whatever details, whatever edits you have done. So you can see on the right hand side that there are some small markups which have been created. So you can have a real time dashboard which is going to tell you that what are the kind of surveys, what are the kind of inspections which have been done today. If there are some problems which have to be addressed, you can very well know about those needs as well. So this is some of the use cases which can be implemented in utilities. Coming to public safety, we know that nowadays public safety is an important aspect, especially from the government side, where the police departments are trying to use our services. So there are multiple states where our solution has been now implemented for crime analysis. So these organizations, whenever they try to go to the field, even they have their field operations. So whenever there is an event which is going to happen, like a farmer protest or a Kumbh Mela, we recently saw that there were some events which had happened in Delhi during the election time. So all those events, if you would like to track those events, you can actually track them using our ArcGIS field maps. So recently also there was where 35 lakh pilgrims have gathered together to have a holy dip in Haridwar. So if you would like to track those kind of events, you would like to monitor those kind of events. So it's very simple to configure a simple web map related to that. And once you have that web map in place, the same web map can be shared to the field users so that they can get to know which all assets are there, which are the major deployments there, and then it can be shared with the police department and with multiple organizations who are there with the security forces. So the benefit of that is that as soon as the people have the web application, the web maps available with them on the field, so if there is a small incident which has happened and they would like to report it, they don't need to actually come to the directly jump to the come to the central offices and report it. They can report it using these maps. They can update these incidents, and as soon as these incidents are updated, you can easily, those incidents are updated, sent to the central server, and all the people who are responsible for doing the decision making, they can take decisions, right then and there. So this application is being even for public safety, like for events, for collection of POIs, for incident analysis where they would like to report an incident. All those things can be easily done using these field maps, and they can be shared on a almost like a real-time manner for monitoring purposes. So the third segment which we would like to talk about is the surveys. So if there are mapping agencies like Ministry of Panchayati Raj, if they would like to do some surveys for a village where they would like to go to the they would like to go and update their records of rights. So all that kind of information can easily be uh, done using these field maps. You can define your surveys, you can define your the way you would like to update the data. You can define that, and whatever apps, whatever web maps you have configured, they can be shared with your field workers. And once these field workers go to the field, they can do the inspections, they can do their uh, whatever work they need to do, and whatever data they need to collect. It can be a simple attribute edit, or if there are people who have the authority to do some special edits, like they would like to add some features into it, they would like to change some features, if they have the rights, they can use these field maps and they can do those special edits as well, along with this your attribute edits. And once these edits are there, they can be directly pushed to your central servers. The next important thing comes your natural resources. So we have been seeing for some state forest departments that nowadays they are especially doing a lot of monitoring around teak wood, sandalwood, red sanders, and different kind of plantations, because there is a special from the forestry, there natural resources, whenever they want to maintain these features like flora and fauna, they need to have these surveys done on regular basis. And this is a kind of a app which can actually do your help you do all these kind of edits, all these kind of updates directly from their forest. The best thing about this is that when you are working in a forest, you very well know that when you go deep into the forest, you don't have the full internet connectivity. So at that time, you can always switch back to your offline scenarios. You can, switch to your offline scenarios. And when you switch to that, whatever data you have taken uh, uh, in your mobile devices as an offline data set, they can be used for your editing purpose. You can collect all the data, all the attributes, all the spatial edits can be collected. And once all those things are done, they can be pushed back to the central server. And it can be a mapping related to these, especially for the forest agencies, it can be a mapping related to sandalwood, red sandals, and the different kind of plantations. And when you are trying to, what we are trying to showcase here is a snapshot where when people try to do these kind of surveys, they would like to upload a photograph or upload a video. So the same thing can easily be done with uh, you can upload a photograph. That photograph is the best thing is it gets geotagged. And even if it's a video, it gets geotagged with the location. So when a person is doing a survey, he can geotag that location, he can geotag that photograph, he can upload it, and he can share it with the department. So the next important aspect is if we talk about the another segment is the transportation. So if you would like to work for the railway tracks, you would like to do all the asset management. So when you would like to do your asset management, you would like to, what we have seen is that you would like to inspect your railway tracks just to ensure that there are no further accidents there. So when you are trying to do these kind of activities, even there you need to do field surveys. And when you are trying to do those field surveys, apps like our ArcGIS Field Maps are very, very helpful because they can you can update that information from the field and then you can share it back with the department. So you can do your field surveys and whatever field surveys you have done related to the different assets which are there, you can do it and you can share it to the central servers. Then talking about the urban segment where we have talked where we talk about multiple when you are doing your planning around cities, what you would like to do is you would like to use this technology. You would like to have a indoor data collection as well. So this application is not restricted to exterior surveys. You can do your interior indoor surveys as well. And when you are doing your interior surveys, it's not restricted to a simple. You can define where your assets are within the room. So you can define where your if you are taking the interior of the room, then you can define where your table is, where your chair is, where the window is. So all those attributes, all those assets can be mapped and they can be shared back. So that you can create a full 3D design out of it during your indoor data collection as well. So that kind of activity using these field maps is also possible. So now, without wasting any time, let us go to some of the demos. I will like to jump and show you my screen. I hope you can see the screen now. So what we have done here is the people, as I told you, that during the licensing perspective, you will always have to, this license is available on your ArcGIS online or your ArcGIS enterprise implementations. So whenever people who are using our software, they know that whenever they log in, this is the look and feel of the application, the browser application, which is there. When you click on the topmost, right, these 9 dot symbols, you can see that there are multiple apps which have been added in the latest release. So today, since we are discussing about field maps, you can see that the field map is also added here. So when we see this field map, so people who have this latest license, they can, directly click over these field maps and you can start working with it. So what is required in this is the first thing what is required is you need to create a web map. So I will just try to show you a quick example of a web map. So what I do is what we have also done is in this release, you would have seen that when we open the our data sets in a map viewer, earlier it used to open in a screen something like this. But what we have done lately is we have tried to make it much more simpler for the users and we have tried to give them a new map viewer. So if you click on the new map viewer on the top right, you can see that a new map viewer window has come. So why we have tried to do this is you can see that earlier all these functions, there were multiple places where you had to click, and sometimes it was a little bit difficult for the users to configure a web map during the web map configuration. So what we have done is on the left hand side, whatever activities you need to do with your web map, whether you are trying to change a base map, you are trying to do some charting, you would like to open a new map, the map properties, you would like to share this map. So all those things have been added on the left. All the styling and configuration related activities have been done on the right. So the best thing is that you can directly use any of these layers. You can define the properties here. And once you have defined the properties, you can set it into your, into this web map and you can, save this web map. Now, once this web map is said, this web map can be consumed in your field map. So what I will do is now I will again jump back to once I've created this web map, I will jump back to my contents. In this contents, you can see that this is the web map which has been created today. So if you would like to change the owner, that right now, since I've created this web map, so right now I am the owner, but if you would like to change the rights, you always have. So this thing remains the same like earlier, that where you can change the owner rights, you can change the owner rights to everyone and just save it. Once you have done this, what you can easily do is you can click on this and you can go to your field maps. So let me click on field maps. Clicking on the top right, the 9 dot symbol, you can launch these field maps. Once I've launched this, you can see there is multiple web maps which are available for me. So I can use any of these web maps which I have created or my organization has created for all those web maps which I have the authority to work with as per the rights given by the administrator to me. I can use these web maps into my field application. So as soon as I click it, I can just click on this. So here you can see that it has opened, this application has opened in my field map. So you can set all this, your content. You can specify the different things what you need to do. So if you need to open this kind of a data in an offline scenario, you can set all these features. You can define your packages here related to offline settings. And then there are other features, like I told you that you can, if you want to use these field applications for data collection or for tracking purposes. So even those tracking purposes, you can very well define that what is the data accuracy which is required during the data collection. What is the GPS averaging, like how many number of satellites should be there, how many points should be taken as an average to get the right results. You can define what is your streaming, that you want the streaming. If it's an auto tracker and you would like to, track that event, you can set up this as 5 seconds, 10 seconds. You can specify it. And the tracking of the person, if you are using these streaming capabilities from the GPS device, it can be set up here. If you are trying to upload a photograph, you can define whether it should be whether it's a geotag photograph or not. What should be the size of the photograph? You want a small size, a larger size. And when it comes to the editing capabilities, so what kind of feature actions are required? What kind of, whether you want the snapping capabilities to be there or not as per the collection of the feature. So all these settings, so earlier what used to happen was these all settings were there in different apps. That when I was trying to use a collector app, I had to do these settings into some other in some other places. But when I'm trying to use a tracker app or a navigator app, at that time I was given the option to do this GPS settings. So with this field maps, what we have done is all these kind of different settings have been done into a single window, because the same field map can be used for different purposes as per the organization requirement. And once he has done it, he can very well save it and he can start using this field maps. So these are the different settings which I was talking about. So now so what we have done till now is we have tried to, set up the configuration at the browser level. So once I have done that, you would also like to have a view of how the application looks in a mobile device. So now what I'm going to do is that whatever application which we had shown you here by configuration here on the browser, I would like to, connect my mobile phone. And once I've connected my mobile phone, let me bring this window up. So you can see that this is my mobile phone. And now I would like to open up my field map. So I can just, you can download it from the Play Store. Once you download it from the Play Store, you can get this ArcGIS Field Maps. Like earlier applications, you need to, do this. You need to log into your organization. You need to give your username credentials. Once you have that, you can, have the details of different web maps which are there within your organization, which are shared with you. So I have just tried to open one of the web maps, and here you can see that here I have the option where I can, switch on, switch off a layer. So since this is a editable layer, I have the rights to do some edit. So what I can directly do is I can add a point. I can, as soon as I click on this, so here you can add a point. You can attach a photograph. You can attach a video if you want. You can say define as per the data accuracy, this point has been added. So whatever attributes which I had set in my web map, all those data collection attributes have come here. You can define, you can, type your whatever information you need to type. You can always type here. You can also set up, so you can see that this we had tried to, limit it to one single character. So if I type multiple characters, it gives me an error. So all these validations can also be, fixed into this field applications when I'm trying to do it. And then I can, once I've done this, I can collect this data. And once I've collected this data, it gets submitted into my application. So on the top and right hand side, you can see that there are options for editing, legends, Maya, markup, and multiple things. So whichever things are there, you can very well do it. And once I do my login, you can see that these are the multiple web maps which are already available with me for working purpose. So all those web maps which have been shared by the organization to me for the usage purpose, for the survey purpose, for the data collection purpose, for the real-time updates, or for the tracking. All those apps are available. I just need to click on the web map which I want. As soon as I click on that, that web map gets enabled. And then I can do whatever work I want. I want to create a markup. I can just create a markup, and I can, whatever markup I have created here, I can attach labels to it, and all those editing capabilities, all those lining capabilities are given in this field maps. So this was since being a webinar, we cannot give you big demos, but this was an example where we are trying to show you that you can have all those features whatever are required in your field applications. You can create these field maps, you can create these field apps, and you can start working with it the way you want. So this was an example from the which I had tried to show you from the your mobile as well. So now let me jump back to my presentation. So so there can be now some questions around what is the need of these field maps, and what is the planning. So before, as I told you that this field maps is a combination of collector, explorer, tracker, workforce, and navigator. So these are the multiple apps which we have tried to integrate together, and we have tried to integrate it, and we have tried to bring it into a single application. So all these applications are going to be merged together, and then these applications are going to be used. So people who are trying to collect data, they're trying to do explorer, they are going to do the tracking, workforce, navigation. All these things can be easily done using this app. So what are the benefits of using these field maps when we use this? So The first thing is that earlier people who used to, do surveys using manual surveys, they can always, go paperless because they can use these field maps. They can download their data if they want to work in an offline scenario. And if they would like to collect their data as a real-time manner, they can very well do it. They want to send feedbacks or they want to send data from the fields, it can be pushed into your central servers. The best thing is like any other applications, wherever a field update is done, you would like to understand that how much work has been done on a particular day. So even this data can also be configured with our dashboards, which can give you the details of whatever work has been done. We can very well, work on that and we can see it. And then you can always work in an offline, online scenario. The best thing is that we have tried to, in this field applications, we have tried to give you an option where you can define your precision related to your GPS devices. So the best thing is that we have tried to, this is a much better configuration which has been provided by ArcGIS lately. Then all these form-based applications, these smart forms, they are simply configurable and they can be done. And then whatever we have talked about. So this is a complete solution for data collection, for management, updation, monitoring into a single web-based platform, which we are offering using these ArcGIS field maps. Now coming to some of the webinars which are going to be coming up in future after this webinar. So there is a webinar which is being planned on June 24th, which is where you are going to have redefining your digital twin with your field data, how you're going to work with your field data. There's a webinar which is planned on June 24th for that. And then there's one more webinar which is planned on July 8th, which talks about effectively use of geospatial data for disaster management. So these are the webinars which are being planned on regular basis from our side, and we can, we will be helping you go through these webinars. Another important aspect which I would like to talk about is the Geonet. So if you talk about Geonet, you can directly go to your community.esri.com and try to highlight it on the top, which talks about you can directly go here. And once you go here, you can actually, go to the different communities. We have tried to classify the community based on products, based on industries. If there are developer forums, so these are the developer forums which ESRI has brought about. So this is a global initiative where all these information related to industries, products, all the developers and all the communities can go. They can find their questions. They can log into this community and they can get the benefit of what's new. If they are facing some challenges using implementation of any software, they can very well log into this community app and they can start working with. So I will request you to join our community.history.com as well. With this, I have moved to the question Q and answer session. So I would like to move to Q&A.